Welcome to lecture 12 of Python module, and in this video we will be creating a Python project which is actually beginner friendly. So here we will be basically creating a quiz game inside Python. So as you know that inside quiz we have certain things, for example question. Every question has some options. Now then a user is asked to choose one option and then we will be mapping it to the correct option. If it's correct, the score will be incremented, otherwise the score is same. So here we have created a question set which is tuple and it will contain all the questions which we want user to see. Then we have all options tuple, which is a 2D tuple. Why? Because every question has 4 options and we have more than one question. So for every question, one tuple is getting assigned inside all options tuple. Then we have correct answer tuple, which will have the options mentioned which one are correct. And then we have user answers, in which we will be appending the user options, and then we will finally compare correct answer with the user answer, and then we will calculate the score and return it or print it. So basically we have initialized score and question number to 0, and now we will be writing the questions which we want our user to actually perform. So in all the questions we have 4 options A, B, C and D. So let's print the syntax for all the other questions. Since we have total of 5 questions in this particular Python game, let's copy this 5 times. Now let's create a skeleton of our game by providing all the question set, their option and the correct option. So in Python, a class is, we already know, it's a blueprint of an object. So let's provide other options as well, like distraction, instance or function. Now let's write the second question which will be displayed to the user, and that is, what is the correct file extension for the Python file? So you know this answer, that is .py file, right? So let's provide with the options of this question. Now let's move forward and write the which operator is used or can be used to compare the two values in Python. So for that we use double equals to sign. Why? Because single equals to sign is actually an assignment operator. We already know this. So the correct answer of this question is also option A. Now let's mention the fourth question of a Python game, and that is which collection is ordered, changeable and allow duplicates. So you know this answer, it will be a list. So let's provide with the options of this question. So here we will be writing a list, that is the correct answer as well. And then we can write tuple. A tuple is immutable, however. Set, it does not allow duplicates. And then here we can give string. So string is also immutable. Now the last question can be, which statement is used to stop a loop? So let's provide with the options like stop, exit, return and break. So break is the correct answer. So option D is the correct answer. So inside the correct answer tuple, let's create the 5 items. And each item is of string type that stores the correct answer of each question. So it's A, and D. Now, since we have created the correct answers tuple as well, let's start with our logic. So first thing, we want to display questions to the user. So we will be iterating over the question set tuple using a for loop. So this question variable will take the value of each question inside the question set. So first thing which I want to print is that here is your question number, And then inside the question number, I want to print the correct number. For example, if a user is solving second question, I want to print that here is your question number second. So I will be using a formatted string using f string, and to keep a track of 1, 2, 3, 4, I will be using a question number. Since in Python question number is equals to 0 because it follows 0 based indexing, but here I am doing +1 because 0th question is actually my first question, and so on. Now let's print the question. Let's try to run the program and see what we are getting at the output. So you can see that we are getting all the questions getting printed. First we are getting here is your question number 1 and then the question, and similarly the rest of the questions. One thing to notice that the question number every time is getting printed as 1. So we need to make the logic of this as well. We will come over it. And another thing which we want is that user can see question and its option as well. So let's create another for loop which will actually display the option of every question. Like for options in option set or all options tuple, you know that all option tuple is actually a 2D tuple. So basically to point all the options of one question, I need to pass the indexing of it. So in this case, I will use indexing using a question number variable. So let's print the option. Let's run the program. So here you can see that the options are also getting printed after the question. But one thing to notice is that different question but the same set of options are getting printed and same question number is getting printed. So one thing which we can observe is that question number is not getting changed. Therefore, we need to increment it after every question. So after the inside for loop, we will be actually incrementing the question number by 1. Now, another thing which we want is to take the input from a user, and that input we will be using through an input function. And inside that we will be using a string that is enter a, or basically we can actually write choose an option. So basically our input will be a string because a user will be providing options like A, B, C and D. So there's no need of doing typecasting. Now, since user has given the input, I want this to get appended in my user list. So let's do that. So we will be actually appending user input inside user answer, which is a list. So let's use the append method and we will be appending the user input. Now we are actually comparing that if the user input is equals to the correct answer, and I need to pass the index as well because correct answer has all the options which are correct of all the questions. So I'm comparing for one question, I need to pass the index for which I will be using a variable question number, and if they are equal, I will be incrementing my score by 1 and then I will also print correct to the user. But if both are not equal and user has given some incorrect answer, we will be printing incorrect. So here we can also print the correct option. So basically this gives a user an idea that what is the correct answer of a question if he or she has given the wrong answer. So for that again we will be using a f string, and inside the placeholder we will be passing the correct answer and then the index as well which we want to extract. So that's it. Now till now we have coded in which a user can see the question, all its option, and also user can provide input which will be appended to the user answer, and then after comparison we are also printing whether he or she has given the correct answer or not. So this is how the logic has been created till now. Let's run the program and see what is happening. So let's provide the input of the first question. So here let's provide A. So here you can see that even though I have provided A, I'm getting an incorrect answer. Why? Because Python is case sensitive. I will convert input to always an uppercase. So even if user is providing lowercase a, b, c, d, it will get converted into the uppercase so that it is getting compared normally. So now I'm printing A. It is giving me correct answer. Now here is our question number 2. See, you can see that the question number is also getting incremented. And let's choose an option like A again. So this is also giving me a correct output. You can see that we have provided a lowercase a. So till now, it is working correctly. There is no issue in it. Now, another thing which we need to do is to calculate the score of a user and finally displaying the results to a user. So let's do that. So for that, let's print one thing to make it appealing, that you are done with the Python quiz. And then let's use a decoration. So before printing a result, I also want to print the correct answers and the user answers so that even user can match out that which are wrong and which are correct. So for that, let's print correct answer. And here I will be mentioning end as no space, because I want that after the correct answer, all my options are getting printed with a space and not in a new line. So now I will be iterating over the correct answer and print it one by one. Since we know that print by default has next line as its end \n. So for that, if I want all the answers to get printed in one line, I will be using end as white space. Similarly, I want to print the user answers as well. So let's copy this 3-line code and do some modifications to print the user answers. So instead of correct, let's write user. And instead of correct answer tuple, let's write the user answers list. And then finally, let's print the score. So for that, let's print the result or the percentage. So for that, what we will be doing, we will be dividing the score which we calculated with the length of the questions and then multiply it by 100. So why we are doing int? Because it can be a float type. So we are typecasting it into an int. And then finally, we are printing the result using a f string. Your score of Python quiz is, then inside the placeholder, I will be passing the score variable and then the percentage. Now let's run the program and see the working of our code. So like basically I'm putting random values for all my questions. So here you can see that the correct answer and user answer and then your score of a Python quiz all are getting printed in a one line. So I want something which brings this thing into a new line, so that we can simply do using a print function, because print function by default has end parameter as a new line. So like after printing the correct answers, let's print or let's use a simple print function that brings my cursor into the new line. And similarly, after printing the user answers, let's use the print function that again bring my cursor into the new line, and then let's print your score. Let's run the program. Okay, so here you can notice that your score is getting an abrupt percentage. So what is an error? So let's analyze it. Okay, so here you can see that we have a loop for, which is our outer for loop. And inside that loop, we have used this print statement like correct answer, user answer, and then the score. But this should not be inside a for loop. It should be outside the for loop, because for loop has done its work after calculating the score. After calculating score, we are using different set of code to print the output, right? So it should be outside the for loop. So let's run the program again and let's provide the random options for every question. This time actually I'm providing all the correct options. So here you can see that the correct answer, user answers are getting mapped correctly. So the Python quiz score is 100%. Now let's try that whether my mathematical logic is working correctly by providing some wrong answers as well. Okay, so here you can see that in correct answers and user answer, only two things are getting matched. Therefore, my quiz score will be 40%. So that's all in this video. Thank you so much for watching.